My name is Sammy Steigman. I am very honored to be here with a very good friend of mine, somebody that overcame many, many life challenges, but at the same time is a truly inspirational person. It is my distinct privilege to introduce to you Sensei John.
It's a great pleasure to be in your presence, Sammy. It's an honor. So thank you for having me on your show.
I'm so happy to be here. Naturally, I want you to tell me about your life, when you started, where you are today. However, before we go into it, I would like you to explain to the audience and to me the meaning of the word Sensei.
Well, Sensei is a very simple word. People think it's like this big title. It's not, you know. A Sensei actually means born first. It means that in what I'm doing, as far as whatever I'm teaching, I was born first doing it. That's all it really means. So in Japan, if you're a person who's teaching somebody how to water a bonsai tree, you could be a teacher of that and they'd call you a sensei. Or a school teacher's a sensei, a teacher, right? But I see the sensei in, as far as my martial art is concerned, is that we're simply guides. We're not healers, we're not, you know, we're not gurus or any of that. We're teaching others to find that guru inside themselves.
I'm looking at the sign and it says Harmony by Karate. Can you please explain to the audience, to me, what's the difference between karate and the other forms of martial arts?
Well, you can see it in the word harmony, right? So my focus and my main emphasis is on all inner development, right? It doesn't mean that what I'm doing is any better than anyone else. It's just different. So my focus is inner development. My focus is not primarily the fighting. The fighting piece or the protective piece is an essential piece, but it's not the piece that I am focused on marketing. I'm focused more on building the human being and working on their soul. That to me is the most important thing. Well, karate means empty-handed way. So the actual word karate means, it's from Japan, right? So it was actually developed in the island of Okinawa. But it was actually the Chinese that brought it to Okinawa, and the Japanese adopted it, and they called it karate, or karate do, do meaning way. So that's the origin of karate.
Very interesting, okay? So now, let the audience learn a little bit about yourself.
It's my pleasure, and thank you again. I started, my original start with martial arts is when I was 2 years old. But it wasn't like anything serious. It was just me. There's a picture of me and my father playing, and I had his karate gi on, and it was just, that was kind of like my introduction. But my real start was when I was 8 years old, and I was bullied severely on the streets of Brooklyn. And I'll tell you that it was very debilitating, and it was to a point where another boy took my head and slammed it into the curb till blood was coming out of the back of my head.
Wow.
And my stepmother at the time, because you know my parents got divorced when I was very young, my mother went through struggles, and I was on the streets of the city. She would get into drugs. And in fact, I was homeless between the ages of 4 and 6, periods of time we were out of place. In fact, the African-American community took us in, and we stayed in the projects, and I had that experience, which was amazing for me as a youngster. But when my father gained custody of me, I left that neighborhood going into Brooklyn, you know, primarily Italians and Irish, and it was just brutal. I mean, it was just a really rough experience. So once that incident happened where the blood was coming out of the back of my head, my dad said, that's it. You need to do martial arts. And my dad had been doing martial arts for a couple of years with the Japanese. So he took, you know, we were low income, so he took a duffel bag and he just stuffed whatever he could find inside of it, hung it in the basement, and he's like, I'm going to give you some things you're going to do every day for a half hour, 45 minutes. But actually 30 minutes was just punching it. And the 30 minutes I had to punch that bag, my stepmother would leave the door open upstairs, and if they didn't hear the hitting of the bag, I'd be grounded. Because they were very concerned about my survival on the streets. It was that serious. And my father had me doing, you know, knuckle push-ups on the concrete outside the backyard. So, you know, by the time that bully came back, he actually came back to me and he said, not only did he want to fight me, and we were 8 years old, I want to fight you on glass. I'm like, all right. I'm like, we'll do it on glass. And he was much bigger than me, so as soon as we stepped on the glass, I went right at his face. Kind of like a Sugar Ray Leonard finishing his bout. I just didn't stop hitting him. The challenge was he was so big that he literally fell on top of me. I didn't know what to do. He's laying on top of me, and I looked up at him, and he just looked like a mess. And he just got up, and he walked away. He's like, all right. And that was the beginning for me. That was the beginning of my martial arts training, you know. And so I actually did it for a few months, and my dad thought at the time that his Japanese teacher says, you know, it's not good to teach your son to mix that relationship up and kind of let it go. Well, at the age of 14, the bullying started up again. We left Brooklyn, went to a beautiful neighborhood in Long Island, New Hyde Park. I'm thinking, it's going to be bliss. There's not going to be any of this fighting, none of that. And no, the first day of school, it all started up again. Because the kids from Brooklyn left Brooklyn to go to New Hyde Park, Long Island. I'm like, you got to be kidding, I can't get away. And it was like, I mean, the first fight I had was a guy named William. We went outside, and he came at me, and I blitzed him with punches. Hit him, knock him to the ground. And I didn't go on top to finish that fight. I figured it's enough. I turn, I walk away, I feel a tap on my shoulder. He finished me, and he finished me good. My eye was closed shut. Hence, the continuation of the martial arts began again. Actually, I was trying to think how old I was at that point. I was 11. My dad just got me involved in just exercises. He still didn't teach me the martial arts yet, but that all came back in my teens and full force. And by the time I got so good at it, I must have had about 17 street fights. So by the time I got really good at my martial arts, it like stopped. When you don't feel that you're good enough, you're going to have problems if you don't stand up. And when you feel like you're too good and you're in your ego, you're going to have other problems. So there's got to be a harmony between those two things. Yeah.
Sensei John, I would like to continue our conversation. And I am here at a very interesting wall. I'm seeing here 7 generations of harmony, okay, by karate. Obviously, all of these people that are posted here mean a lot to you. I also want to know the meaning of the symbols here. And most importantly, when did you start the harmony by karate? And what does it mean to you?
I'll explain the lineage of where this comes from, and then I'll explain to you how the business started as well. All right, so here, 1733, this person founded Okinawa Te, which he learned from a kung fu master and developed his system of karate. This person taught this person, and then he founded Shuri-Te. That's his system. Bushi Matsumura, and this is Chotoku Kian. Now, each of these had many students that developed other styles of karate. And this person taught Kori Hizutaka, the founder of Shirin-Juru, the style that I studied for many, many years, for 26 years, before I founded my system of harmony by karate. And then this is one of his students, Sensei Morita, and this was his student. Many students, my dad, who's got the same name, John, but his middle initial is A, and I'm John P. Mirrione, so I founded Chokai Karate Do. My dad founded Shirin-Juru Kinkokai Karate Do. So it's kind of like each one found their own version of what they did before, and they became who they were in their experience, and I became myself in my experience.
So you're telling me that this started in 1700?
1733, that's right.
Is your form of karate slightly different than the original?
Very different.
Very different?
Yeah, exactly. But to understand, we're the 7th generation from the very beginning of the word karate, the way that started. I had to trace it to the beginning and to honor that lineage. But each of them had other students and other amazing masters that kind of, so yeah, I had to figure out a way to streamline it. But it's very complex. But this is a simple way of streamlining it and showing respect to these great masters.
Well, I can't ascribe enough thanks for everything that Sensei John has done for me. I started learning and studying karate about 4 years ago. I had spinal fusion about 10 years ago. All my lumbar discs, or 3 of my lumbar vertebrae, are frozen together. I have titanium rods in my back, screws in my back. You know, I literally, the hospital special surgery took me apart and put me back together. But in doing so, I lost a tremendous amount of flexibility. So when I first came here, you know, Sensei John said, I'm going to take you under my wing, and I'm going to show you that many things that you didn't think you could ever do again, you can do now. One thing you have to understand is Harmony by Karate is not just about fighting. And you want to know how to fight when you're my age. You know, you never know when something's going to happen on the street. But it's not just that. There's a philosophy behind it, and there are exercises. He incorporates yoga. He incorporates a form of Tai Chi called Chi Feng, where you use light weights, which teaches you how to relax as well as it builds speed and flexibility. And then, of course, there's the fighting aspect of it. And we do randuri, that's where we fight with one another using protection. But in a matter of a year or two, my whole body changed. I became almost as flexible as I was when I was 20, 30 years younger. I rebuilt a speed of hand, speed of foot. I never was able to kick. That wasn't part, you don't do that when you do boxing. So there's a lot of things that he retaught my body and taught my body to do. I have seen little children starting at the age of 2.5 years old start to learn karate here. And then I've seen teenagers who had started when they were 2 and now have black belts. One of my fellow students, when I first started, his name, same name as me, Michael, he's now 80 years old, and he still comes here every single solitary week. So from 2 to 80, he hits everything in between. And Sensei John moves you along slowly at a pace that he feels you can maintain and continue to do. So you start with a white belt. That's basically a novice. From there, you get a yellow belt. It goes green and then purple and brown. And if you can stick with it, and you have the mental acuity and you know, the physical wherewithal, and you have the desire, you have to have the desire, you can go all the way to a black belt. And as I said, the 80-year-old that I worked out with, black belt.
Explosive dancing, I give you John Mirrione.
The other thing that empowered me is I took the martial arts and I got involved in breakdancing. That was beyond amazing experience for me. I was actually at a party and I saw somebody get up and they did this incredible dance, and I saw the girls were all into this boy, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to learn that because I want to do that, right? So I started watching TV and watching these shows on TV like Star Search and Dance Fever, and I'm like picking up moves here and there. I created an act of my own. Went into a talent show. I won in that talent show.
What year was that?
This was in the 1980s. That'd be 1984. So, you know, I started to, and then I went to Vegas to visit my mother, who was all fully rehabbed. She'd been fully rehabbed for a long time. And she took me to a top nightclub in Las Vegas, and I took second place in this big dance event. I was 17. And so I was like, you know, I wanted to go in the military, and I wanted to go in the Air Force. And I said, you know, Bob Hope, Elvis Presley, these were military entertainers. You know, I'd be interested to see if they would let me be in the military, and I could just entertain the troops and just dance, right? So I go to my recruiter, and my recruiter says, so, you know, what is it you want to do? I said, I would love to dance. He stopped. He was like, probably something he's never heard. He says, well, they have this elite outfit. You have to train to go in this particular showcase. But you have to he said, you have to compete and win first place each time. Otherwise, you're not even on this road trip, this amazing road trip, where you can either see the country or you see the world. I said, I'm signing up, right? So I was willing to do the crapshoot, go in the Air Force, give my life up for my country so I could dance, right? So I go into basic training, and I'm standing on guard duty. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And the drill sergeant comes up to me. He pictures African American, big guy, and he's standing there, he's looking down, and he says, Airman, he says, what job are you here for? And I'm standing like, sir, want to be Air Force entertainer, sir. Entertainment? What kind of entertaining you doing, right? I said, sir, dance. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. He says, get in my office, right? Because he didn't believe I could dance, right? So he was trying to figure me out. He gets a boombox, the time they had the big radios, puts it on the desk. He said, dance. So I get out there and I'm doing this whole dance routine, and I'm, spinning, jumping, splits, all that great fun stuff, right? He clicks, he goes, well, all right, sit down. He says, let me tell you what you got to do. You got to go to your first military base, you got to win first place. Then you're going to go to your second one, first place. This is what you got to do. And the next day, this is in Lackland, Texas. I'm standing at attention. I figure it's like 100 degrees outside. And our head's shaved, like we're bald with the hats, and we're standing there. He comes out with the boombox. And I look, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm just standing there. Gary Mirrione, front and center. Yes, sir. He said, order to entertain the troops. I'm like, yes, sir. So I get out, and I'm dancing. And you see all these soldiers are trying not to laugh. They're like, what is going on? And I'm just doing this whole break dance, martial arts routine. He said, Gary Mirrione. He told me to stop. And he said, back in line. Yes, sir. I get back in line. So this is all during basic training. So we're on the bus in basic training, and I'm with one of my colleagues, and I see a sign. Now, the military base in Lackland was divided boot camp, and then you had active duty. So I look at the sign where it's on the other side. I'm like, oh, there's a big breakdance competition. And this friend of mine's, he's like, we can't go there. He said, we'll be peeling potatoes. They'll lock us up. I said, but look at the time. I said, it's when we have break. He says, John, I'm not. He said, you're crazy. There's no way that I'm going. I said, I'm not asking you. I'm going. You could stay. I'm going. I'm going to compete. During that break time, it was like a week or two later, I remember the exact time. I leave, I sneak out of boot camp. This other kid follows me, because he's like, deep inside, he would have wanted to do it too, or he wanted to see what I was going to do. I go to the other side of the base. They had already started the competition. I submitted my name. I'm watching these kids spin on their heads and do all this amazing stuff. I won first place. I put my hat on. I went back to the other side of the base. No one ever found out, but I did it. And then when I finally got, we finished boot camp, and I went to this other base. It was a Pease Air Force Base in New Hampshire. Went to that competition, won first place talent show, right? I got letters from colonels, generals. These people were now following. They became like fans. It was the craziest thing. They're like following me to my shows. I'm like not just doing that there. They'll have a dinner. Can John Mirrione come? I want him to dance at this dinner, and I'm dancing there, and I'm doing. And then I go to my next base. I'm competing. I go to Barksdale, Louisiana. I compete there, first place. Then I went on a tour, 6 weeks around the country. But you had to go to a boot camp to go on the tour. It was a 3-day boot camp where they did not allow you to sleep at all. No sleep allowed. Coffee and soda all night. And you had a woman screaming at you, telling you how pathetic you looked while you were on stage, and that if you do it like that, they're going to send you back home. So it was like a whole breakdown of the person. They build you up to set you up for that 6 weeks of like literally hardly any sleep. You're in a hotel for 3 days and you're back out entertaining. But it was absolutely incredible to be treated like, I was treated like a celebrity. And it was, it built my spirit and my soul. So I end up traveling from New Hampshire 6 hours to Harlem. Almost in your neck of the woods, right? Yeah. I go in, and there's a line coming outside the Black Music Theater. So I'm not standing on line, and I'm the only Caucasian standing there, and I'm like, it's getting dark out, and I'm still in the back of the line. I'm like, why am I still in the back of the line? Because they kept cutting me, and cutting me, and cutting me. And before I left, all my African-American friends said, you're crazy, I don't know who you think you are, they're not even gonna let you in. I packed out of my car and I drove back to New Hampshire. They said, see, we told you weren't gonna get there. Why did you listen to us? All that traveling? I was mad for about a year. I said, you know, I gotta go back. And it was interesting because the person that I spoke to before I left the military was African-American. He said to me, you know, you did great in your career. I did all these other jobs. I was a building manager of 120 people. I was one of the other jobs that I did. He says, but John, if I was in those dance shoes, I'd get out. I'd get out if I was in your shoes. I got out. And I went back to the Apollo, right? So I drive all the way back, go back on that line again, and there it goes again. They're going in front, going in front. I took my radio, I had a boombox, and I just walked right in front of the line. I cut the whole line. And I literally, you know, I took a risk of my own life to do that, right? And I never forget, it was a guy named Ralph Cooper Sr. He was the founder of Amateur Night at the Apollo, the original. He's passed away. He's a legend. I love him for what he did. And he said, who are you? I said, I'm John Mirrione. I came here to dance. Get it over with. So I move back and I go click, and I start moving. And I'm flips and splits and spinning kicks. And I look at the people's faces, they go, and they look up, and they all start screaming and cheering and going crazy. And the music stopped playing, and I kept dancing. And then Ralph Cooper Sr. said, that's enough, stop. And I went and sat down. And I'm thinking, yeah, why is he so upset with me? And I thought, maybe because I'm pretty good at this stuff, right? He said, come over here. I'm like, what? He said, you're going on amateur night at the Apollo next week, Wednesday night. Be there. I said, yes, sir. Thank you so much. I leave. I come back the next week. This time I'm on stage. I bring the boombox. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let them see my face at first. Let me cover my face with the boombox. So I strut across the stage, and the crowd's going crazy. They're like, they see the footwork. It's, you know. And as soon as I turn, I hear cheers and boos, cheers and boos. They're like fighting with each other. And then Sandman, this guy comes out and dragged me right off the stage, basically saying that, you know, you're not good enough. That's kind of like their gimmick. Well, I was upset. Another year goes by. I'm still working on that routine. I said, it was like a sickness. I got to go back. It's like the boxers got to go back in the ring again. But I won. I won in a lot of ways. I go back, I audition. I go back, and it's amateur night again. We're putting you on Showtime at the Apollo. You're going to be on television worldwide. I'm like, yes! So then I go into the TV version, right? So I go back, and you have to rub this tree stump. And it's Sinbad, the famous comedian. So that being said, there was a struggle getting on the stage.
And show the folks what you can do, man. So go get busy, Mr. John Mirrione.
Sandman again. And I'm doing all this acrobatic. It didn't matter. It was fighting, boos and cheers. Sandman comes out, pulls me off the stage again. Well, another year goes by. I'm like, I'm going to get this crowd. I said, they're not even going to know it's me. This time I come up with an act that glows in the dark called Neon City. New York City in the backdrop. There was a cardboard my uncle had created with New York City, and then my ex-wife like painted it in colors that would, when lights hit it, would glow. And my outfit was all glow in the dark outfit, like baseball cap with these big balloon pants and tic-tac-toe outfit, all like colors. So I get out there, there's black lights. I start dancing, they're just going crazy. Because the lights and the dance and the music, they're like, this is great. They loved it. And someone put the house lights on. And they looked and they go, boo. But it was too late because the act was over. I never saw Sandman. And I won in myself because I had to overcome the adversity. So they built my character. There were those that loved me, those that they didn't. It didn't matter because I loved me. And it gave me the courage to do anything I wanted. So even when I've traveled like with the Harmony Power Foundation, mission statement, stand up to bullying, stand for human equality. You can see I stood up for bullying, against bullying, and I stood for human equality. By me going to the Apollo Theater stage, I'm standing for human equality. I'm like, no, we are the same. I love you. I want you to love me. I've been blessed with my traveling with the bullying and empowering kids, and I've been blessed with my business and have an amazing staff, which is just incredible. And then to move forward, now I've got so much happening because I have been blessed with being thrust into a lot of political circles where some of the politicians that want to do good have been helping to support this kind of cause, where there was a bill submitted by Assemblywoman Sumter. It was actually amended to the anti-bully legislation in New Jersey. It's not official yet, but it basically says that schools have to give these kind of Harmony Power Awards. And that was my idea. But I said, we need to do something proactive when it comes to bullying because kids don't just bully, they shoot each other because they don't feel the love. And in the absence of love, you have hate.
That is absolutely fascinating. You just gave us a lesson in determination. At the same time, you are teaching us, under any circumstance, never to give up, never to lose hope. And now, for the benefit of the audience, how about telling us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, about your parents, etc.
I've been blessed to have the experience of my natural mother. We've had a very hard childhood. I had a hard childhood, and she had also a tough childhood. And then having a terrific stepmother who took me in, who adopted me, knowing the circumstance with my mother and my father, wanting this to happen this way, being raised by, a little bit with my mom when I was young, and then with my stepmother, my dad. And my dad was my primary martial arts teacher, for through my black belt and up to like a 5th level black belt.
Sensei John, what I would like to know, and obviously the audience, what made you become what you are today? In addition to your parents who had a great influence on you, obviously you have and you had people that you really admired. Can you give me 3 names?
Named Leo Feng, who was the man who influenced Bruce Lee. I have a friend who's more of a friend and / mentor. We didn't train together, but we're friends. He's come to my studio and we talk and email all the time. He's the real Miyagi from the Karate Kid movies. And he's in his 80s now, and he's an amazing guy. And then there's Tao, the oldest yoga teacher in the world, is 100. She's had tremendous influence in my life as well, as far as the yoga and integration of yoga. And my best friend, Marcos Martinez, he is the only undefeated UFC fighter that I know. He never lost. And he came into my life about 20 years ago and brought a dose of reality because he fought in a war for 12 years. So helped me to overcome some of my fears, and I helped bring peace to his life because unfortunately, as a person he was a person hired by the military to go and do a lot of missions that people would want to do. And he had a lot of experiences, and I helped him to heal himself from the PTS. So I've had a lot of incredible experiences that way, and a lot of mentors with that.
I know that you wrote a couple of books, but at the same time, you also have a lot of other achievements in many firsts. Please tell us about them.
I have two books. One is a Philosophy of the Week book because I did radio with Z100 Radio. I did 3 years of radio, and I would do like it was a Philosophy of the Week section. Like every Friday morning, go on radio, and there was these two famous people called Elvis and Elliot. It was a morning show, and it's a top radio station in New York City. So I did about 150 segments where we talk about, just some positive words, and they would make jokes and whatnot, and then I would wrap up the show with something, positive and meaningful. That turned into me writing a book based upon that experience with my philosophies. And then I have a Harmony by Karate book for my brand so that people know what the method is, and that's important to have. When I was in high school, I did 63 one-arm push-ups in 37 seconds.
How many?
63 in 37 seconds.
37 seconds?
Yeah, it's still there, a record in New Hyde Park Memorial.
Is this a world record?
No, at that time it wasn't a world record, but when I looked in the books in that time, if I had took that to the minute, I would have beaten the world record without even knowing. I was 17. That was another one, and I got the high school, physical fitness award, which was nice, and it was built by my self-esteem and my confidence. I wasn't a great athlete. Like I could dance and I could do martial arts, but I wasn't good at football or baseball or any of this. I liked playing sports, but I wasn't good at it. So it was very empowering when I set that stage. And then I've had multiple real world records along the way. And the most recent one to continue to empower kids, I did it 2 months ago. I did 42 one-arm push-ups with one leg on a chair in 30 seconds. So I with one leg on a chair, one leg off the chair, one hand on the ground, 42 one-arm push-ups, 30 seconds. It took me about a month to recover, but I'm feeling pretty good now.
Is this a world record?
Yes.
When you go to schools, I know that you are giving awards. I have two questions. Number one, what does it mean to you? Number two, what message do you want to leave for our audience? I am also going to assume that teaching harmony is not only for children, but also for adults. Is that correct?
I would say this, that my life mission is the children. And this specific idea I mentioned to you about the Harmony Power Awards and magnifying that effort on a global scale. I can't think of anything more important in the world than that. Considering all the things we're looking at on television, how could we not want something like that to occur? That would change everything as we know it. And I know it's possible, and that's why I'm doing it.
Sensei John, you are my friend. But most importantly, you are an inspiration to so many young people and also adults. I am truly honored to know you, and most importantly, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
We are going to be the first district in the state to implement Harmony Power Awards. And Sensei Mirrione is going to come up here in a minute and explain the process of what his life's mission is. Okay, so without further ado, I have the privilege to present to you Mr. Sensei Mirrione.
So I would like to introduce the founder of Harmony Power, Sensei John Mirrione.
A couple special guests here today who would like to talk to you briefly about the power of harmony. We would like to welcome to the stage Sensei John Mirrione.
What we would like to do is invite Mr. Byrne up on stage, but before we do that, Sensei John Mirrione is going to say something.
So without further ado, I want to introduce Sensei John Mirrione.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And I went on this journey starting in 2010, and I think you should know a little more of the history. Being staff members, like why would a person volunteer like myself and travel the country out of my own pocket to see what was going on in the schools? In fact, when I went to my reunion, everyone asked me, one guy said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm doing fine." I said, "You don't look like you're doing so good." But the reality is that I was one of those rare people that took the adversity and the evil that happened to me, and I decided to go save the world. I had this dream years ago, and I'm looking at it. How amazing was this day? How amazing are you? And say, I'm amazing. Everyone say that. Child bullies, they get in trouble, right? They get suspended, they get expelled. It's very embarrassing, it's very hurtful to the child who's bullying. And I also learned that the reason why children bully is because they don't feel good inside, right? Who agrees with that? If you bully, you don't feel good about yourself, right? So when a child doesn't have self-love, this is what's going to happen. So when I see mass shootings, I'm like, oh, well, that's the next level up, right? So if you go into the history of a mass shooter, well, they were bullied in life. And that's just the reality check, right? So do we want mass shootings, or do we want mass volume of children being recognized for the good that they do in the world? What do we want? Am I the person to make this happen? No, I'm not. I'm just like the first domino, because all of you in this room absolutely have the power to change the world. And I wanted to tell you that, as many of you already know, that I was bullied a lot when I was a child. And I had to do a lot of things to become powerful and feel good inside. And I want you to know I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you did this work. And I can't wait to hand each one of you your certificate. So what I also wanted to tell you is that one of the things that inspired me, right? And as many of you know, I did my martial arts, and I also breakdance. Those are two things that I did that were very exciting for me. But there were people that inspired me in my life too, many people. And I happen to have one person that's here who's very special to me. As I traveled the country, I met him. He's probably the most famous Holocaust survivor. Everybody know what the Holocaust is? Anyone knows that history at all? Have they learned that yet? I don't know which grade that they actually attained that. No, not yet. Okay. Well, let's just say that he went through a lot when he was young, right? And he was bullied a lot. And then he spent his life helping humanity, helping the world. So Sammy, please step up. I want you to see who you are.
Good morning, everybody. I am very honored to be here. Very briefly, I just want to tell you I'm extremely proud, okay, that we became friends, whether you know it or not, but Harmony by Karate is one of the 10 best karate schools in the country. And at the same time, okay, I was very honored when he gave me, okay, and honored me, okay, with an award for promoting harmony in the world. So I'm extremely happy and honored to be here.
I believe that this program, Harmony Power, is a very good program that we could really utilize here in our school. Since this is a school of character, the program assists the students in areas that are very important, such as respect, harmony, and love. Harmony Power is a program that actually does a domino effect. The students are learning about it, about respect. So the teachers do benefit because we could see in the classrooms how they are handling themselves and how their character has getting better and better every day. In this world, we can see there is an increase of bullying associated with the kids maybe not having enough information as to how to respect each other. And the program itself assists them, because nowadays the children can, at least in this school, they are always being reminded. And I could see how their relationship it has gotten much better, and think twice before they get involved or engaged in any bullying situation.
Harmony Power is very important for our district to implement because it really creates a positive school culture. The students really feel that they are creating this culture themselves, and I feel that they're really being motivated and empowered because they're getting that feeling after they do something good, and it's making them want to do more good and to create more change.
And Sensei Mirrione has spearheaded this venture for our entire district. So he and and your principal, Mr. Panagopoulos, your vice principal, Ms. Milano, Ms. Vindas, your social worker, and Ms. Webb, your guidance counselor, and all your teachers, especially all the ones that did this great job and all this great work helping you all to this day. So without further ado, does anybody want to see the sensei here get down and do a little boogie? Sensei John Mirrione. And of course your teachers that just received the Harmony Power Award, right? First time in the district and nation, so you'd be very proud. So the importance of today, the month of October, everybody knows the first week of October is the week of what? The week of respect. In every school in the state of New Jersey, the week of respect. The month of October, we have School Anti-Violence Awareness Week, and we're culminating that today here with your awards. So be very proud of the hard work that each and every one of you did in creating this quilt. That takes a lot of dedication, and let's use this to build off for next year. We're going to be doing this every year going forward, so think about it. A lot of times we get a lot of awards for all the good things we do academically, for the reading and writing and math. Now we're going to be also focusing on our hearts, what's inside of us. So think about the rest of this year and into next year. What can you provide harmony, peace, love, and respect to the world? And we'll show that even more so next year. So I want to thank you. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. I'm hoping you're all proud of yourselves and all your friends for receiving the Harmony Power Award. I want to thank Mr. Sammy Steigman. He is a world-famous man that is here, and he's going to be here more time in the future. So let's also give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for being here. And without further ado, who here likes to dance? I don't think you heard me. Who here likes to dance? All right. Well, Sensei Mirrione is a good friend of mine. We've become good friends over the last few years. And as he said a little while ago, he was bullied as a child. So he now spreads his love and kindness
empower each and every one of you to one day do what he's doing, whether that's karate or dance. He spreads his harmony in this world through karate and dance. So who here wants to see Sensei Mirrione do a little boogie? A little break dance? Anybody? All right, let's go. Let's hear it for Sensei Mirrione. Let's clap, everybody.